Welcome back, guys, to After Hours with Jimmy Thistle. Yeah, we're getting into the groove with the old video. I do have to admit, this episode with the amazing Tom MacLeod. I was trying this new camera, and basically it's my iPhone. The clarity is, the resolution is amazing, but I haven't worked out how to stop it basically going fuzzy or basically all pixelated when somebody messages me or texts me. It's working through Bluetooth, so I go into airplane mode, but then it's still connected to the Wi-Fi because I'm connected it to the computer that way. So if anybody knows how to kind of solve that problem, then I'm all ears, because it seems to be a bit of an issue. We did, with the conversation with Tom, the first half, there's a few fuzzy things going on where basically mine just freezes. But majority of the time it happens when Tom's talking, so the focus is on him, so it's kind of okay. But again, the second half is actually okay. I don't think it goes off again, but that's when I put it onto flight mode. But since then, using it on flight mode, it's still kind of happened a few times. So bear with us, guys. You know, as I say, if you're just listening on audio, there's no problem at all. So it's all good on that. But yeah, just these little teething problems. Do you know what I mean? I try something new and then something throws a problem in my way. I love problem solving, so I will solve it. But obviously, you know, the episodes are as they are. We're not going to go and re-record the whole thing because we want it real, we want it raw. And yeah, so that's exactly how it is. We've got the studio looking a little bit more kind of, you know, less cluttered, less washing, and you know, we got a plant going on here. We got the Pink Floyd poster. So yeah, it's all you know, I think it's looking pretty good. But you know, if you're listening in audio, then Jimmy, shut the F up and move on. So today we have another Canadian, Tom MacLeod. I hope I'm saying his name right. I mean, that's how we say it in Scotland, and I think it is a Scottish name. So we didn't discuss that, which I was gutted about after when I got off the kind of call with him. I was like, oh shit, man, I didn't even mention that he's got a really good Scottish name. It's the Highlander name, MacLeod, from the MacLeod clan. Connor MacLeod from Highlander. Anyway, I'm rambling. Tom had really good, as he put it, hang with him. So you know, we were very similar, I guess, in the same respect. You know, he did film studies. He did a lot of, you know, he's made a few documentaries which I've still to check out now. If I find it on Amazon, I'll put it on the show notes as well. Really lovely guy, really easy to talk to. Again, just, you know, had a bit of a crazy love for alcohol. You know, he wasn't a popular kid, but when he got invited to one of the popular parties as such, he decided to have a drink, and like me, you know, he was almost instantly hooked. He just loved the way it made him feel, almost like a superpower, and just went from there, you know, kind of hell for leather through his kind of, you know, his teen years and his 20s. And you know, we kind of, you know, he did actually give up for I think 3 years, no, 3 months maybe. I can't remember. I've just been listening to it back, but you'll find out when you get into the episode. But he gave up for a substantial amount of time, and then he went back to it, and he went back to it hard. You know, screwing up his brother's wedding, which he was doing the recording for, the filming. So just went back to it like full on, and just kind of kept on telling himself, "This is it. This is wrong. I shouldn't be doing this. I know I'm an alcoholic." You know, Tom uses that word quite early on. He says, "My name's Tom, and I'm an alcoholic." So I totally get that. Until, you know, 11 years later, he decided to do something about it and get himself sober. So yeah, it's a really good episode, really good conversation. You know, Tom and I were, you know, just really kind of like two old buddies, I suppose, just kind of reminiscing. So I took a lot from it. Hope you guys do too. Yeah, I'll see you at the end, but listen for the similarities and not the differences. Thanks, guys. See you at the end. Tom, welcome to After Hours, mate. I was looking at the Riverside thing at the top there. I like these little kind of mix-ups in it. So where are you in the world, Tom? Tell us where you are.
I am in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, right now. Yeah.
I think you're like the fourth or fifth Canadian now. It's just I love the Canadians. They seem to be coming on the podcast quite regularly now. So welcome.
Thanks,
let's just if you want to just maybe introduce yourself and then tell us about your childhood and when you had your first drink, man.
Well, I'm Tom. I am an alcoholic. I grew up in Calgary, which is kind of like the Texas of Canada, and I had my first drink at 14 years old. I was not a popular kid, and at one point, someone invited me and my equally unpopular buddy to one of the popular parties, and so it's all these kids outside and they're drinking coolers and stuff, and I always like to hang out with the girls because they didn't bully me, and so some of them were like, "Hey, you want some coolers?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I always said I'd never drink," and so I did. And I remember clearly still the moment I fell down a hill and started laughing. And that was the moment I was like, oh, I choose this. This is so much better. I got up. I was, people liked me instantly. And I just couldn't wait to do it again. It was probably a few more months until I did. Me and some friends, we drank some Mike's Hard Lemonade. I don't know if you have that out there.
It's just what is that?
It's what it sounds like. It's vodka lemonade. And we slept on a trampoline that night and just caused, I don't know, probably some property damage around the neighborhood. And I woke up we all woke up the next day, and I would have been, 14. And I remember thinking, like, we were all so hungover, and my friends were like, I'm never doing that again. I feel so sick. And I was like, this is exactly the feeling I want. Like, I felt cool. I felt adult. I was like, oh my God, look at me. I have a hangover. Yeah. And then I got into high school right after that. And, it's the way that the world was at the time. Like, I grew up as a skateboarder. And back in the 90s, because I'm
so 42. Sorry, Tom, how old are you?
I'm 42.
Okay, so I'm 45. So same pretty much era, same time.
Exactly. Yeah. This I went to this different high school than everybody I knew from my other school went to, and over that summer, skateboarding became acceptable and got popular, and all these people at my new school, they were like skateboarders, and I instantly became popular and started getting invited to parties, and I was hanging out with my neighborhood friends who were like rednecks. And so I learned how to drink with them, and then kind of took that over to like my high school parties and stuff. And I could outdrink everybody. It was all this positive reinforcement that do this. This is all good. It's like my life just kind of naturally started getting better, just as like a, angsty teenager. But also it was like I was able to directly tie that with like my drinking. And so, I drank every weekend. I was just having a great time. I was having an awesome fucking time. And then I continued that, after high school, I got my own apartment with a friend and started drinking every day, because why wouldn't I? The idea that I wouldn't, I'm an alcoholic. I didn't know it back then. I probably kind of knew it, but of course I'd be drinking every night, just working shit jobs at like car washes and stuff like that. And then I ended up moving to Vancouver, which is on the west coast of Canada. Yep. And just kind of kept that going, and drank all through my 20s. I became a bike messenger in my mid-20s.
Okay, I mean that's a cool job at the time.
Oh, dude, it was the greatest. Like,
you're the man about town, and
you're just riding around on your bike delivering packages. It's a really
put your headphones on, I'm sure.
Exactly. Listen to my iPod back then, or my MP3 player or whatever. And the one thing that I realized is at the art gallery where all the messengers hung out, I saw guys drinking during the day, and I was like, oh shit. there's no bosses. Like your boss is a radio, you know?
Yeah.
And so I started drinking during the days, and that actually really helped me get in with the bike messengers.
Yeah.
Because it's all about like who's a good hang. And and everybody's drinking, so it's like, you know, I was kind of this dorky film school kid.
Okay.
But
yeah.
they really did accept me, and they were a terrifying group of people. They're just like kind of like this Mad Max lifestyle, you know.
Almost like an elite kind of like
it was.
You're not like it's hard to break into that kind of.
It's extremely hard. The hazing process is lengthy, I'll say. Yeah. And I started just doing that all the time, and then I started making a film about it. Actually, like I look back on it now, but it was just lunacy doing this. But after a few months, I brought this camera in with another guy who was an established courier, and we made a documentary about it. And I spent the next few years just doing that, just taking ecstasy all the time and filming bike races, and it took us years, but we did finish the film. It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
It didn't, you know, we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't make any money off it, but
at the end of
my 20s, when I kind of drifted away from couriering a bit, it occurred to me I was trying to just not do drugs on the weekends. You know, I was like, how do I do this? Like, I'm always like picking up a bag or some pills or something like that, and I couldn't figure it out. And then I remember one time saying to myself, "What if you quit drinking?" And it had never occurred to me, what would that be like? And so I did. I did for a few weeks, 3 weeks or something, and I was like, this is fucking awesome. And actually, it was probably longer than that, 5 or 6 weeks. And then when I relapsed...
How old were you, Tom? Sorry.
I was 28 then.
Wow, right, okay, so young, yeah.
Yeah. But I just kind of, you know, I wanted a bit of a better life, and I just wanted to try something new. And when I did relapse, it was at my brother's wedding, and I kind of almost fucked the wedding up, you know. Like when I decided to come back, I came back hard. I was filming my brother's wedding as like a wedding gift. I deleted all the footage, and when I was drunk, and then thought the best idea would be fucking grab a bottle of Jack Daniels and start chugging it. I got in a massive fight with my family. I ended up within hours on the streets of Ottawa, like doing harder drugs with homeless people. Like I found out in the last year that I hit my dad that night. I punched my dad, so he got an amends for that, a second amends for that. So I decided, okay, I got to get sober. You know, this is ridiculous. So I started going to meetings with a buddy of mine, and my life started getting good. And then I got a job in Toronto, and so I moved out to Toronto, and I was like, okay, I can go back to sobriety anytime. You know, there's meetings here, all this, but I want to make some friends. So like for my mental, you know, mental health and to make friends, I'm going to drink for a little bit. You know, just maybe a few weeks or
just
something.
to ease you into the city life and
exactly. And then I went back to being a bike messenger, and I did that. And the problem with accepting you have an issue, and going back to drinking is that it fucking ruins drinking for you. You know, like it. Every time that I was doing it, I was like, this is wrong. This is wrong. I drank for another 11 years. 10 years after that. Just thinking constantly like, I'm going to quit next week. I'm going to quit next week. I'm going to quit next week. And failing like every single time until finally I was like, I think I'm going to die. You know, I just gotten out of a relationship, like a 6-year relationship. And she got kind of all the friends. and I realized that that last year before I got sober, I was, 38, 39 years old, and I was just a barfly, just hanging out with like nameless, faceless figures, like all the time. I started sleeping less and less and less and doing more and more drugs. And then eventually, on my last bender, I didn't sleep for almost like 2 weeks and realized that, oh shit, I think my heart's going to give out. I had liver damage. And so I reached out to a buddy and was like, I saw that he was sober. I just saw that he was sober on Instagram. I used to party with him, and I looked at the photo, and I was like, I think he's sober. You can see it in the eyes. And so
of course, yeah.
I messaged him. I was like, are you sober? He's like, yeah, 4 months. And I was like, fucking help me, man. Yeah. And so he brought me to a meeting, and I instantly was like, it was a men's meeting, and I was like, oh, why didn't anyone fucking tell me? Like, this is where all the answers are that I was looking for. It's just a bunch of like old dudes. One of the guy was talking about like how he robbed a bank in the 70s. And I was like, this is fucking great, man. So I went back out for one more bender. Yeah. That's when I didn't sleep for almost 2 straight weeks. And just kept saying, one more day, one more day, one more day. And then I slept for a bit. And then I woke up and went right back into that meeting. And I've been sober ever since.
Wow. Yeah. Congrats, man. That is, I mean, it's some stories, so many, and this is what they say, listen for the similarities and not the differences. And it sounded like you kind of did that straight away almost. Do you know what I mean? Listening, you're like, oh my God, this guy. Okay, I'm not saying you robbed the bank in the 70s, but, you know, I'm sure you did some pretty gnarly stuff, you know, through the years. And, you know, for me, like I did film studies. I didn't finish the degree, but I did some wedding stuff, and there was one where I was doing a wedding, or you know, just the photography. I think I might have done some film work for it. I then went out on a massive bender, had my laptop stolen, so everything was stolen from me. Do you know what I mean? Like all the shots, everything from this wedding, and it was like a friend of the family, and he was kind of just like, you know, these things happen. Like, I didn't explain the full story that it was a bender and that's how the laptop got stolen from me. It was because I was doing some stupid shit. But, like, he was really decent about it. But that's his whole day just lost. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And, like, all I could do was apologise. Obviously, you know, he hadn't paid me at that point. But it was like, yeah, that's his wedding gone, you know? So, yeah, these things are just like, why did I not learn at the time? And why did I not kind of think this is what I need to do? But like, you know, going back to what you're saying, so almost every time you were drinking from that first relapse, like 11 years, you know, prior to when you stopped, you were just kind of thinking, I need to stop, I need to do this. Yeah, you knew it was a problem. You knew it was a problem.
I like every single time, and like it's not like I was really spending a lot of time like freaking out about it, but it was just always lingering, you know? It's like this dark cloud coming, just following you everywhere, which really, it kind of just corrupts everything. And I was just trying to outrun it with like I thought if I just accomplished more and did cooler and cooler things, you know, I was able to like start making music documentaries and tour the world and, you know, go to the UK and go to France and Germany and down to the States and all that. And I was like, well, yeah, this is, you know, I wouldn't be able to do this if I wasn't drinking. And eventually it just kind of caught up with me, you know, like I ended up hanging out with like, you know, I started dating this girl. She was a drug dealing, you know, runway model. I was like, yeah, that checks my boxes, man. Of course.
You know, this is the lifestyle I'm leading.
Alcohol and drugs brought me to her, you know, this is the lifestyle that I love. But deep down it was like, you're going to die, man. Yeah. And I just kept saying, but I'm going to quit next week, so it's okay. Like, I just kept like off and off and off. And the dangerous part about that is like for me, when I kept saying, well, this is my last time, this is my last bender, the benders get crazier and crazier, right? If I'm gonna, if this is the last show here, let's really make it count. You know, and then I would quit for 2 weeks or something and be like, why was I doing this? This isn't fun, you know? And it's because I wasn't addressing any of the issues. Like I was just taking alcohol and drugs away from my life. That kind of mind frame was miserable, you know? And I was telling myself like, no, this is great. I feel good. I'm waking up earlier, but I was just the entire time. The longest I ever made it was 4 months. Until COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I was like, oh, well, you know, I was doing this for work, you know, like to get for my career, and that's gone. So for my mental health, let's start drinking again. And I don't really remember much of COVID, you know. It was my then girlfriend and I just kind of hung out and we watched The Office 9 times through, you know, the entire series. And
it is good.
You know, they deliver drugs and booze to your house. So it was fine. And then when COVID ended, both of us, my ex and I, were like, do we hate each other now? He's like, yeah. Is this done? Yeah, I think it's done. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I remember in my 20s, and I was like got into this cycle of, well, it wasn't even a cycle, it was just a full-on thing. So I'd come home from work, and it was like in my shop that I lived above, and I had some housemates, but they were all kind of room dwellers. So I just kind of, did the same, and I'd be in my room, like kind of writing or watching films, or just trying to be creative, but not really. But the shop sold like, I think it was like 3 bottles of wine for like £10, which is nothing. Do you know what I mean? It was cheap.
That's amazing.
Cheap.
That's free wine.
It's free wine. So I was like, that would be like a daily occurrence, and then the weekends would be bigger and harder, with like, coke, pills, whatever. But like this was just my staple through the week. I'd probably barely be eating, and just drinking this. But the hangovers weren't that bad. Like I was saying to someone a few weeks ago, if I had 4 bottles, then I was useless the next day, like absolutely useless. So it was like, right, 3's my limit, and then I can go to work, do that. But I remember thinking to myself, like, you've now been drinking now for a month solid, and then it'd be like 2 months, and then it was like, you've now been drinking solidly, like every day for 6 months. This cannot be good for you, But it was like, well, this is just my life. But the problem with me is, and this went on till, well, I mean, I got sober at 40, but like, I'd have moments of like, oh, drinking's caused this issue and that issue, and then I would try and stop. But the problem was, I never knew it was bad for me. Like, I knew, like, if I was in my 60s and 70s, there might be, maybe cirrhosis of the liver or this or that. It wasn't anything that I saw that was an immediate danger to me at my age. But it, obviously, we know now it is, but like that knowledge isn't out there. So I was just like, well, this is who I am. I'm functioning. I'm getting on with my life. Okay, I'm a bit of a drunk. People know me as that. So I was just like, this is my lifestyle. This is who I am. I'm not causing anyone any harm, really. I mean, I was like, emotionally to people, and just leaving like a trail of destruction wherever I went. But it was like, I was living the rock and roll lifestyle, and that's kind of what I was all about. But
it was romantic. Like, and I just touching on that, like, I remember at an early age, like in my early 20s, I said, and I used to say this from then until when I quit drinking, was as long as I'm only hurting myself, then this is fine. And I thought it was like, that was virtuous, I remember like seeing people early on, like, we can start drinking here at 18, right? And so, like legally, I was drinking before, but so going to the bars early, as opposed to the fucking Americans, where it's like 21 or 30 or some shit down there.
Yeah. Well, what age is it? What age is it with you guys? Is it 18?
Where I grew up, it was 18.
Yeah. So same as here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, being in the bars and everything, in the pubs, and seeing people do stupid shit. I was like, it's like I saw them and was like, don't do that. Don't do the stupid shit that people are doing, and then you can keep doing this more. If I was able to just kind of curate my alcoholism better, then I could keep doing it. And the thing is, I was right? Like, I was still handling all my shit, kind of, but I wasn't creating massive problems. Like my amends list in my program was, it wasn't, I didn't do a lot of devastating things. There was a lot of just emotional damage to people because the people close to me had to watch me killing myself slowly, and it to me, it's like I knew that, but it was like, but that's me, man, tortured artist. And I romanticize, like I look and see the 30 bottles of wine in my kitchen, on my kitchen floor, and be like, yeah, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
This is, if I wish someone could see this, it's like, no, that's not how you live a life.
So yeah, I think like I used to be massively. I've just thrown us back in. I know there's maybe a skip there in the recording, but yeah, I used to be like, I still am. Like my heroes were like, obviously people like Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, all these like tortured artists, like what you were saying. And I've gotten into reading a lot of biographies about these guys, and it's like someone just wanted to shake them and go, guys, there's help out there, because you imagine the output. Like my creativity has increased tenfold since I got sober. What I was doing when I was drinking was mostly mediocre at best. My photography, my writing, it was all pretty crappy stuff. But now I seem to, I feel like I've got more of a creative streak. I'm my ideas are coming thick and fast. And these guys were super talented. So can you imagine the output that they'd be given if they got sober?
If they were sober, I know.
Yeah,
I had something that happened to me. Something that happened to me recently was like I got sober, and first of all, like I work in the creative field. I've been making films and directing commercials and all that kind of stuff. And so I still lived in that, but I wasn't getting this influx of ideas. And of course that was going to happen, like all of my ideas, I was doing tons of fucking drugs and drinking. And so it was like this, there's no barrier, right? It's like the way, what it does to your brain, it's just, it jacks it up. And so all these ideas were coming out. They were bad. But there were a lot of them. And so I got sober, and it's like my brain, it has to rewire itself, right? And so I was like, oh man, I'm kind of in a creative block here. I luckily had the wherewithal, and I talked to people about it. They were like, just give it time, And on Monday, I went to the fucking Oasis concert here.
Oh, and wow, nice.
It was first fucking magical. But afterwards, it's like this 25-year musical writing block lifted from me. And I like this past week, all of these, I feel like this creative block, it's like whatever was in my head, just kind of saying, not yet, not yet, not yet. It kind of opened up, and I'm having just all these ideas for short films and just like documentary ideas, and they're good. It's not just like this kind of struggle, me trying to force ideas. It's like it opened up. And the first thing that I thought was like, God, I'm almost 3 years sober, and my brain is still unlocking things, Like part of recovery is all those realizations about yourself that I remember when I was first started, I was like a month sober. I was like, God, I wish I was just 2 years sober. And then about 7 months later, I was on my back fire escape here, and something popped into my head, just realization about myself. And it made me realize, like, if I just jumped to 2 years sober, I'd be denying myself all of these like amazing kind of bursts of inspiration and realizing what I'm capable of, and that come, especially at the beginning, kind of like on a daily basis. Even now, still years later, it's still happening to me. It's not nearly as much because like a lot of the change has really happened, the transformation from this poor son of a bitch into someone who has a nice, manageable, calm life now. I've gotten there, but there are still little things opening up in my head, and that pushes me forward. And I'm able to tell younger guys like, yeah, this is still happening to me too, and it gives them kind of hope that they're going to be able to that it's still great later on, and it keeps getting better,
And I totally agree. I mean, I bumped into my sponsor from way back in the day. Like he was I think he was he just got 2 years when I was like rattling about in the rooms at the beginning, because I used NA to begin with over here. I did AA. Wasn't really my kind of tribe, but then I found NA. And although drugs weren't a major thing for me, like I did them, but they never had that grip on me. So I went to NA, but NA was just magical. It was the right time, the right people. And as I said, he was 2 years ahead of me, and I was like, oh my God, like I wanted to like get there so quick, because I was like, this is who I am now. This is my sobriety. I'm embracing it, but I want to be at 2 years. And then so he just got 7 years and I've got 5 years, and it's like we're kind of like almost neck and neck now because we've got such longevity. But like you're saying, I'm so glad that I didn't skip. Not that you can, but do you know what I mean? Mentally, like or metaphorically, because you're missing out on like what you're saying, but also the experiences. The first birthday, the first Christmas, the first like going to a party or an event, and all of these things, even the first couple of times you go dating when you're sober, it's completely different, And I kind of very scary, and I was open and honest with it the first time. I think on my Tinder profile it was like sober, but not just sober, like I explained like terrible drunk but now sober.
You don't want me drinking.
Yeah, exactly. So don't go like, let's meet at the pub. So, we coffee dates and all that. But then I got to a point, and I think it was like, Not too long into my sobriety, and I was like, man, I'm not ready for dating. I'm not doing this. It's not.
I did the same
me.
thing. I did the exact same thing. Like
And then
people say don't date in the first year, and I was like, oh, I get that. I totally understand that, because you could. And I was just I got a new sponsor, and I was telling him that yesterday, and he was like, well, that kind of sucks. And I said, look, it's because that used to make me relapse in my 30s. I'd get a few weeks and I'd be like, this is great. I'm never going to drink again. And then as soon as you sit down with someone, it's like that. It's a different part of your brain activates, it's sex, it's attraction, and it overpowers everything. And I would sit down and be like, you want to get drinks? I'm like, I'll do whatever you tell me. Like, I will fucking burn my apartment down, whatever. You're beautiful. Right.
Yeah,
and so I got to, I had this thing where I was like 7 or 8 months, and I was like, okay, I could start dating, I guess. Maybe it's not the best idea. But then I started thinking, okay, if I'm meeting someone, because I just assumed you had to meet someone at a pub, right? I'll just have dinner or whatever. But I was like, what do I tell them? Do I just like lie and say, well, I drank a little bit too much and I quit? And it occurred to me, until you're comfortable saying I'm a fucking alcoholic, and if I have one drink, I'm going to end up in handcuffs, then don't date. You're not in. I wasn't in the right place.
You're not honest with yourself enough.
Exactly, and you don't know who you are for the first year, right? And so like putting this false sense, just kind of like a Temu version of yourself in front of somebody, then that's not fair to them either. And so when I finally got to the point where I was like, yeah, I'm comfortable dating, I was like, I don't want to. Like, I finally really like myself right now, and I've got a really comfortable life. And when I would go on dates, they'd be like, well, yeah, this and then this problem. I'm like, I don't want your problems. I got my own problems right now. I'm dealing with a lot of shit. And so finally it got to about, 2 years. And then I was like, okay, let's start going on some dates. And now I'm dating, not my ideal, which my old ideal of my type of a woman was like kind of mean, brunette, alcoholic, and
someone that
luckily,
you could do anything with, and they wouldn't even bat an eyelid as to your behavior.
Oh yeah, they love the chaos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and you know what I love is that now I'm in these rooms all the time, and it's filled with mean brunette alcoholics, and so it's like that part of me gets kind of satiated with my friends now, like who I are completely platonic relationships, and I'm like, but I still like will be like. This beautiful woman be telling her story. It's like, well, yeah, that I fucked over my husband. And it's like, I wish she'd fuck me over, like, she could ruin my life any day. It's like, snap out of it, man.
Absolutely.
And so now I'm dating the opposite, Now I've been dating someone for a while that is totally the opposite. She's not an alcoholic. She's blonde. She's lovely, and she's very interested in me and my recovery. It's not a threat. It's not a threat to her. Because my ex-girlfriend, she actively worked against me getting sober,
Well, this is it.
That would have fucked the way that she had to live up.
Because then she wouldn't have been able to drink. And I think that's like what you're saying about the dating. Like, if you're not open and honest and say to someone like, oh yeah, I'm an alcoholic, or I've got a drink problem, and I'm sober, like, majority of people on a first date, they want to go to the pub. They want to have a glass of wine, because the majority of people, like, and I'll say it, like, most people have anxiety in social situations, so we all drink to kind of, give
That's
us
why
that
I started drinking.
Courage. Yeah, exactly.
I'm riddled with anxiety, it turns out.
I felt like I was a king when I drank. Yeah, well, if you've got that, then that's another reason. But this is the thing. So they say, if you say to them, "Oh, let's go for a coffee date," and they're like, "Oh man, it's so boring. I'm not doing that because I can't get rid of my anxiety that way. I'm going to be nervous. I'm not going to be the person that I think I am when I'm drinking."
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't want to be that person, and that's one of the things that I've found in sobriety. I'm a much cooler person. So
man, that's a scare. I just made a video about this actually. We have to get over the fact that we think we're cool, right? Like, what's our relationship with cool? It's like, I didn't want to get sober because I thought that was lame and I was cool. And I had this idea in my head of what cool Tom was, and then when I got sober, it's like, it's different, I hang out with different kinds of people, and I prefer it so much, like, because it's like me to live this cool life. It's a small life, You know, it's a really restrictive life. Like, I didn't want to hang out with some people because I was like, well, they're kind of lame. They're like a paralegal or something, you know? Like, I don't want to hang out with some mechanic, you know? I want to hang out with people who are like artsy. And then now I look at like those pretentious, vapid, artsy people, and I'm like, I don't want to hang out with them, you know? What are they giving me? Like, I'm going to go have laughs with a guy who just got out of jail and is like super self-deprecating and doesn't take himself too seriously, you know?
But that's the thing, what I have most, and you know, a lot of sober people, but other people as well. And I'll go for a coffee, and it'll either be during the day. We've got a couple of coffee shops here that are open till like 10, 11 o'clock at night, which is fantastic for the likes of us. And I'll just sit there in a nice, there's music on, but it's not, like if I go into a bar now, I'm like, why is it so fucking loud?
Oh, I know.
Like I can't hear anyone talk. Not that they're listening to me anyway, because they're just waiting for me to shut up so that they can say whatever they've told me 4 times already. But if I go for a coffee, it's like I can sit there with 1 or 2 coffees and have these deep, meaningful connections with another human being, you know. And that's what maybe it is because I'm getting older, you know, and I'm not in my 20s anymore. But like now I'm like, man, why wasn't I doing this years ago? You know, like I have no regrets. I have no regrets because I had a great time drinking and drugging. But
no, I'm the exact same way. Like it was important for me to paint my whole past with this like bad brush at the beginning because I had to move forward to a new life. But then as I kind of got further into my recovery, it was like, you know, you've had a great life. You know, like I did have a blast doing what I was doing. I was a great alcoholic and occasional drug addict, you know, like I was so good at it. But looking back on it, I can't be like, yeah, but you know, you were happier then, you know, it's like, no, I wasn't. I was just a different form of happy because like, I've always been an optimist. And I decided at an earlier age that like, you know, happiness is just a state of mind. I can be happy. And I just was the wrong kind of happy, you know, and also it wasn't really sadness as much as it was disappointment in myself, you know, because I thought I peaked at 39 years old. I thought I was like, well, it burned every bridge, which I didn't. I was just catastrophizing everything. It was like, my career is over. Maybe I could get a job as an accountant or something, you know, or just working like mowing lawns. And then I got sober. I was like, oh no, you're just getting started now, you know, like and I think it's a perfect age. Like we got sober at the same age, essentially. Right?
Yeah,
like,
pretty much. Yeah. Fine,
and I think it's a natural progression, you know, like if you're an alcoholic, get sober by 40, you know, because otherwise like that'll escalate so much faster. Because there's not that, you know, old, like, well, I'm still young and cute, you know, it's like, no, fuck, I'm 44 and I'm still doing the same shit that I was doing when I was 25. Like that would be sad to me, you know? So luckily I count myself so lucky that things got so bad for me that I was going to die and it shook me loose, you know? It was either you're going to die or you're going to live. Okay. If I'm going to live, what does that entail? Well, you have to get sober. Okay. If I choose life, okay, fuck, how do I get sober? Tell me what to do. And people were like, yeah, we'll tell you what to do. And I was like, oh, hey, that's okay. What should I do? They're like, it's going to be weird, you know? It's based on some crazy ideas. And I'll be like, all right, that's fine. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit.
And I started, what I want to do.
Yeah, I started doing all these things, and it just worked. It just worked, you know? Like, I tried everything over 10 years. I went to doctors. I tried medication. I considered moving to a devout Muslim country where alcohol is punishable by death because I was like, that'll do it. No, that would get me killed. You know,
because you wouldn't stop. You wouldn't stop.
No, nothing was going to stop me drinking except for surrounding myself with people who had already done it. You know, and that was the most important thing to me was going and sitting and listening to people whose like lives were fucked. And then I thought they were lying to me. They're like, well, yeah, I did this, and then I crashed the car, and I'm drinking myself to death in a motel with a gun, and I'm looking at this, you know, successful, normal person telling the story. I'm like, are they lying to me? Like, are they embellishing how bad it was? And then you find out, no, it's just that they did these things that got them sober, and that provided me with a lot of hope that I could do it too. And so I asked them, hey, how'd you do that? They're like, I'll tell you. I'll tell you how you do it. It's like, get a sponsor, fucking start doing all these things, and have this perspective shift, you know?
Yeah, yeah. But I think what you're saying, like, you know, we got sober at 40, and, you know, it didn't ravage the hell out of us. You know, we're still good looking guys, Tom, you know, and I agree with what you're saying. You know, we did it at the right time. And I know any time's right. If you're 40, if you're 50, if you're 60, no, it's never too late. Do you know what I mean? I'm just glad I did it at 40 because
it was the right time for us.
I'd done it to death. Like, I'd been in and out of relationships through my 30s, and it was just like, and I was constantly, like, I don't know what I was seeking for at that time. I was like companionship or this, and I was probably in the wrong relationships. My job sucked because I'd done photography. I was really good at that. I'd done film school. I hadn't finished it, but I really enjoyed it. Then I was trying to write, but nothing was making me fulfilled in that arena. I wasn't working in that. I was working in office jobs, in temping jobs. I was doing data entry. You know, some jobs I'd work my way up and I was making all right money, and then I would just self-sabotage it by drinking and not going in and all that because I hated it. I got sober. I moved to the Isle of Man where my family is now, and I basically, a friend of mine was like, whilst we're in COVID, and I was looking for more temp jobs, and he said, why don't you come down? You're just down the road. Come round. I've got some gardening equipment. Like, do some lawns, do some weeding, do some hedge cutting for me, and I'll give you some money. And then eventually he was like, you're pretty good at this. And he was like, did you do gardening before? I was like, I used to grow shit, you know, like that's it. I used to grow stuff I could eat, not to smoke, but, you know. And he was like, well, you should set yourself up as a gardener, because there was no jobs about this point. Yeah. And I just did it, and that's like 5 years ago, and that's what I do, you know, and I love it. I love doing it because I'm outside. I'm my own boss. I'm this and I'm that, and it's like, you know.
One of my favorite jobs, you know, growing up was landscaping. It was just like gardening and mowing lawns, and because it's outside, you're working with your hands. There's not a lot of pressure. There's no massive decisions you need to deal with, and oh man, you're making me jealous. I want to do that.
I've got it set up now, Tom. So and it's taken 5 years. So I now have my 5 core customers. Like, I'll do extra little jobs here and there, but I go to each one of them 1 day a week, and I'm there all day. So it's not I'm going here to Mrs. This and Mrs. That to do their lawns. Like, I used to do that. I've done my graft. Now I'm like there. So, like, don't get me wrong. Winter sucks. You know, it's wet. It's cold.
Oh yeah, I was a bike messenger. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
In Vancouver. Vancouver is like exactly where it's the exact same shit that you deal with out there.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Here in Toronto, it snows, man.
Yeah, you get the snow. Isle of Man, it's a little bit probably milder than over there. But, like, I love it. You know, I'm, like, out there. Even if I'm absolutely soaked through, you know, I've got my waterproofs on, I'm soaked through, I get home and I'm tired through actual physical exhaustion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I sleep so well now because of this. And I remember thinking when I first started this job, I was like, oh man, this would be the best job if I was still drinking. Because, like, you know, I don't have any bosses, but I was like thinking, I played the tape forward, like one of the tools, and I was like, no, because, like, your customer would probably smell it off you, and they'd never have you again. You'd probably fall asleep in the bushes, which I actually did once with that mate of mine, and he busted me. I'd see I'd lose my license because, you know, I can't be driving about. So it was like,
but that's what our brains do. We're alcoholics, and like, there's so many. So it doesn't matter what you're doing. Our brain still says either a lot or a little bit. Just to be more fun drunk, you know. Like, I was at the Oasis concert, and I was high up. You know, I was pretty high up, and far. No, I was just far back, and I'm looking at all these lucky fuckers in the front, and that, you know, the version of me was like, fucking wish I was up there, and I was like, play the tape forward. It's like, no, you don't, like, part of you does, but the 25-year-old version of you does, you know. I'm standing with a beautiful woman, I'm pretty far back, you know, it's an amazing show, and it was like having gratitude, like, shut the fuck up, you're watching your favorite band play who just reunited, like, this is fine right now.
You're fine where you are. Because I'll tell you, Tom, I went, my mate's 50th, like, a couple of months ago, and I went over to London for that, and we went to, have you heard of Pete Tong? He's a big DJ over here. Yeah. And so he does the Ibiza Classics with, like, this Philharmonic Orchestra in, like, I think it was in the, let's say, the Royal Albert Hall in London. So it's this huge, big amphitheatre, and it's, like, all the old school Ibiza Classics, right? And I get in there, and we're like, right up in the kind of circle stalls or whatever, and it's just, everybody, people our age, younger, maybe a bit older as well. And like we've got seats, and I was thinking in my head, are we going to be sat down when we get in there? We couldn't even get to our seats because it was just madness. So we just found this area, and we were just like, do you know what I mean? Just dancing away. And it was funny because, like, yeah, it was a rave scenario in this like amphitheater, Royal Albert Hall thing, but I was like, man, and there's people like squeezing past us, going to the toilet, obviously a little bit of nose thing going on, there's people drinking. My mates are drinking. I wasn't drinking. I was like on the alcohol-free stuff. But it's funny, like this thing went on, I think it was like 2.5, 3 hours. And about halfway through, you started seeing the people were like, their knees were giving out and they were like sitting down because we're all old now. We can't dance nonstop for 3 hours. But I was like, yeah, this is it. So we can have a little rest now and then get back up. But so you were in the right place, man, for Oasis.
Yeah,
that's it.
Exactly. No, it was. It's one of those joys of getting older. Is that when a lot of people, they don't like to accept it. I find, and for me, like getting sober, it's made me have to come to terms with the fact that like I can't go back to the way I lived because it would kill me, and so it's made me really accept that like I can't go back to my past, which is I think helped me age emotionally age more gracefully because. There is this one kind of extra kind of stopgap of me saying, "Oh, remember the good old days?" It's like the good old days. I can like reflect and be like, crazy times, But I can't go back, like, because if I go back, I'll die. Whereas I think people who aren't alcoholics, a lot of people would be like, God, I wish I could go back to that. Because they haven't been forced to come to terms with the fact that if they go back, they'll die. Right. And so it's really helped me accept, like, I live on a very busy street, College Street, right downtown. Like out my window here, I looked outside and there was this lineup of, 19, 20-year-olds. I was watching these just kids, these children, these guys, and they're pushing each other around and they're passing drinks around and stuff. And I was looking at them and I was just like, fuck, man, those guys are having a really good time right now. And I was like, that's what I looked like at like 18, 19 years old. Yeah. And I just kind of was like, look at these guys right now. But no part of me was like, I wish I could fucking do that again. It was like, I had a good time doing that. I'm happy that they get to do it now too. Yeah.
I like what you're saying because it's like there's this division, this stone wall. Whereas, like what you're saying, like, and I think the 90s have a lot to answer for because we partied hard. Everyone did. It was just like, I don't know if you had it in Canada. It was like the ladette culture, so it was like female lads. So they would be drinking pints like to keep up with the guys, and
that sounds just like Canadian girls.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, and it was just like this whole thing. But what you're saying is like there's people now that they're not alcoholics. They've not got a drink problem. They'll maybe go out still at the weekends and they'll be like, oh, should we just get a little bag or should we get a pill? And it's like, so it's now becomes this kind of diluted thing because, they might have a nice or a great night every now and then, but the majority of the time they're going to hate the hangovers. They're going to hate the come down. They're not going to be able to handle it because
PTSD.
They're old. Right. Yeah. Whereas it's just like, we've got this division where it's like, can't do that anymore because it'll kill us. So we just draw the line, and now we can't do it. And I like that. Like I'll go out to parties and stuff, and I know people that are like, and it's like, really, you're still drinking this kind of heavy at this age because you're going to feel like shit tomorrow. Yeah. And there's a few people that I kind of know, and I'm like, but each to their own. It is what it is.
Well, it's why we're so lucky. I was talking to a sponsee about this yesterday. Do you know who Steve-O is? He was one of the Jackass guys. He said one thing that I've always really loved, which is like, we're so lucky that everything got so bad for us that we had to get sober, because the worst thing would be is if it wasn't really the worst and we just stayed kind of drinking and kind of getting fucked up and sad and super sad into our 60s and 70s. Luckily it went down and it hit us to the point where we were like, oh, this has got to change. So we were able to kind of hit this massive reset in our lives, because if things hadn't gotten bad, if I was still in my last relationship with someone who was fucked up, like during the time it was like, well, everybody's fucked up, so I'm just, I'm on par with everybody else. I would be so sad right now. you know.
Yeah.
Luckily, I got out. I almost died, and then was able to like fucking completely start fresh. You know, it's almost like a middle-aged puberty that we
Yeah,
hit,
and
right?
it's like it's almost like a born again thing. Because as I say, I see people drinking. Like my wife. I mean, we got married. Well, it's a month ago today. That's what I was going to say.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
I met her after 3 years. It was organic. We just fell in love straight away. We knew each other. That was it. We got engaged the following year, and then we got married a month ago. So it was like this beautiful thing. As I say, she doesn't really drink much at all. She'll have maybe a glass of wine or a gin and tonic. But there are people that I've known in the past or I know now, and it's like you're still drinking, and it's really, really bad for you. Because I didn't know it was like 7 types of cancers. You know, it's like a leading cause of breast cancer. It's a carcinogen.
Yeah.
It's a depressant.
It's fucking
It's
jet
like,
fuel that we're
why are
putting
you
in our
still doing
body.
this? You know? Yeah. Like it's something that you do when you're younger. Like I smoked, then I vaped, give all that up, and I'm like, well, why would I want to continue drinking? Because it is really bad for you, you know. And it's like we're all kind of trying to get into healthy living now. Like a lot of the youngsters, they're fully into like, you know, fitness and health and what they're eating.
They don't drink. Younger
They
people
don't
just
drink.
don't. I feel bad for them, frankly. You know,
Yeah,
like
they're
I
not
see
having
these-
the fun, you know.
They're not. They're not. You know, everybody's under this lens. Everyone's filming each other, and nobody's drinking, and they're so afraid of like looking embarrassed,
Looking bad. Yeah.
looking bad. But like, there are no photos of me as a teenager.
There's
like-
no videos, no the
Maybe,
photos.
definitely no videos, but
no
there's maybe
videos.
like 4 or 5 photos that exist of me as a teenager, because we were the kind of the last bastion of analog, you know,
yeah,
where
absolutely.
like you're trying to get a hold of somebody. You know, I'm years behind you, so like when I was a teenager, it's like a few people had cell phones. You know, it's like there were satellite people. One person had a cell phone, you had to get it. But other than that, you know, working with just wandering around trying to find parties and it was a free for all. And these young people now, I do feel bad for them. Clearly, they're going to live longer than we will, but if any of us survive, but I do feel bad that they're not able to go out and cause some damage.
The weird thing with the advent of like, I mean, these kids, you know, I've got 3 step kids, and they're born in a world where there was always the internet. There was none of that, you know, Gen X or millennial stuff or zillennial stuff where, you know, you grew up and you'd go out on your bike and you'd play in the park or in the forest or the woods till it was dark, and then you come home. You know,
And
nobody
cared.
Nobody cared. You were surrounded by people, and I think now that the world is massively connected, like so connected that it's more than it's ever been. I think people are isolating themselves more because they're just staying in. They're communicating with each other on their phones or their tablets or their computers, but they're not actually like if we went to meet someone, if we were going to meet our group, and someone was late, and you were like, well, we're not hanging about for an hour, you know, we're just going to go. So, like, you'd miss them, and they would be like... Oh,
maybe, like, leave a note on a pole saying, we went downtown or something.
Yeah. But they would just have to go and wander about and find you, you know, that was what it was. Or, like, even when we went clubbing, and somebody, like, mostly me, would get kind of... Because I used to go wandering about the clubs. I don't know why. I would never stick to my group. I'd go and I'd get drinks.
I was the same way, man. That's one thing I loved. Was
wandering.
Like, just go like in this kind of like
haze,
weird 90s montage haze.
Yeah.
And with like music bumping and be like, hey, whoa.
I was just going to see what adventures and who I could meet and this, that, and the other. And so if I came back and they were gone, I'd be like, oh, shit, you know.
What are you going to do, you know? Grab a new friend.
Yeah, I got new friends and all that. I'll find my own way home. I always did. I was like a homing pigeon, but it's
one thing that like it was so strange to me getting into the rooms, getting into the program was like, oh, people don't get this kind of connection, regular people.
Yeah.
You know, like there's nowhere else is like, because, you know, churches really aren't a thing anymore. There's no places for teenagers to go, pool halls and shit that we used to go to. And AA is like, it is this place where like we talk to each other on the phone all the time.
Yeah.
We hang out in the same room. We go for coffee. We hang out with like groups of friends. The idea that a grown man can make all these new friends in his 40s, that doesn't exist in the world anymore. It's statistically, it's like guys who have. We don't make friends in our 40s. You have your old friends, and that's basically it, you know. And getting sober, now I've got way more friends than I've ever had in my entire life. you know, and they're people who genuinely care about my well-being too.
Exactly, that's the thing.
Drastically different than it was even 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I know people that are in the rooms and they're like, oh, you know, what am I going to do? Tell my friends and all that. And then you see them like maybe 6 months, years later, and they've still been coming, but then they tell you and they're like, oh yeah, no, I don't hang about with those people anymore because I realized that, you know, like I told them I was sober, and then they were like, put on the group chat like, oh, we're going out to this thing, so maybe you don't want to come. And it's like, what? Like, why am I not even, you're telling me I'm not coming because you know that I'm sober? And it's like, so they kind of ditch those friends. I had another friend who was like, he was I think he's a couple of months behind me, so he's coming up in 5 years, and he's a friend of the podcast. George, he basically was 28, I think, when he got sober, and it was like, he was like, but I'm not gonna, you know, miss out on anything. He's been on stag do's, he's been on, you know, he still goes out and parties. He's calmed down a bit now because he's got a little daughter, and he's got a girlfriend. I don't know if they're getting married, but yeah, like he was just like, I'm not giving up on any of that stuff, which kudos to him, you know.
Oh man, that's what I hoped for when I was like 28 and I tried to get sober, but I realized I'm not capable of that.
So hard to do, so hard to do.
I mean, I had to shift I remember before I got sober, I was like, well, how am I still going to be able to live the life that I live and just not drink? You know, that sounds miserable. And then I got sober. I was like, I don't want to go to dingy dive bars and hang out at Coke parties and shit anymore. Why would I want to do that? I was there for one reason, to get fucked up with weird people. And so if I'm not getting fucked up, it's like, well, what do you want to do? It's like, I'm going to go for a bike ride with some pretty girls now. You know, I want to go to the beach. I want to do all these things that, like, when I was fucked up, I was like, isn't it gonna be nice when you don't have to come to these places? But then when I was right before I got sober, it's like, you want to stay in these places, man. It was like, that's just my alcoholism. That's just my alcoholism. Just saying, you don't want to get sober. It's gonna be bad for me. And so it kept me in those fucked up places. Yeah.
You've got this weird kind of force field around us that makes us kind of almost like invincible to these places, and we want to be in these horrible divey little places. You know,
it's sexy,
some of the parties that I ended up in, it was just like, but because I was in there and it was like, this seedy, the darkness, don't put the lights on because I love it, and it's the pure addiction in your psyche that's coming forward. And it's horrible.
Telling you that this is fine, you know? It's
there's
you're in a mattresses against windows, and there's people, it's like, is that person dead? Be like, this is so cool, man. And then you get a bit of perspective when you get sober, and you're just like, get it off me. Just the memories of those make me freaked out.
Shiver.
But at the
time,
what would you see? At the time, it was great.
It's great fun. All the experiences, you know. As I say, the only regrets I really have is the people that I upset, the people close to me, you know, emotionally, and that. Would you say, Tom, that you had a kind of rock bottom, and you know, how was that?
It was in my last bender. It was the first time that I thought that suicide was an option. I always prided myself. People were like, worried about killing myself. And I was like, I can never do that to my family. It's like, why would I do that? That's crazy. And then in my last bender, probably by, I hadn't slept in over a week or something. It was like, I guess it's like I accepted. I was like, I think this is it. I think this is what my life is now. Like, I've tried everything. There's no fucking hope left. Like, it's not that there was no hope. It's like, I kept getting fucked up because I always had hope that I was going to get sober at some point, like but it's like that hope was getting smaller and smaller and smaller down to this tiny sliver. And I had this realization that, like, oh fuck, I think this is it for me. And I went, fuck. Oh fuck. Like, finally I was shaken loose, and I was like, that's it. This is the inflection point now, you know? Yeah. And because there was no bottom for me, it's like, I mean, of course there was. That was my bottom. But like the classic,
it can go on.
Oh, you're digging and you fuck things up. It's like, you fuck that up, you fucked it. No, you can keep digging. You can keep making things worse and worse and worse. My bottom was just when I realized, like, fuck. Like, I realized, like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die by my hand, or probably I'm just gonna fucking die. My heart's gonna give out. My liver's gonna die. And that was my bottom. It was just that realizing, like, my scorecard read 0, there was nothing left. And luckily when I hit that, it was like, all right, you've got a small window of opportunity here. You know,
Yeah.
it's all of the reasons that I had for doing what I was doing. It's like they finally all fell away just for a minute. And then this little window opened and I dove through it. And once I got to the other side, I was like, I can't go back. Tell me what to do. I'll do whatever you fucking tell me to do. And luckily, it wasn't that bad. It was. Yeah. I thought that getting sober was going to be the hardest thing I ever did in my entire life. And yes, it has been difficult. Of course it is. You know, you have to learn how to live this whole entire new life, but it's not the kind of difficult that I thought it was going to be, because I'm surrounded by people who are just like, I was ready. I was completely
You were ready. That takes a lot of the hard. I mean, like, as I say, like you're saying, I'm not going to say it was easy. It wasn't easy. It was fucking hard to get sober, but I was ready at this point, because I tried and failed many, many times, and I wasn't ready. I always knew in the back of my mind that I was going to drink again.
Me too. That's why when I tried at 28, I was like, it seems like a good idea. Like, and from then until when I actually got sober, I didn't want to get sober. I aspired to get sober.
You're like, that's something I'll do at some point. But you see people, and it's like, it's the hardest of hardest things for them. And then they're white knuckling their sobriety, and they're dry,
so uncomfortable,
drunk, and it's like, you know, and like, you're not ready. You've not made amends with yourself yet. You've not accepted that you can never have a drink again. You're just basically doing it one day at a time. Because it's one day at a time at the beginning, but that shit should get easier. It does get easier. You know?
It absolutely does. But for me, it was the perspective shift of not what am I giving up here? And that was me trying to do it without help. You know, when I got to those 4 months before COVID, it was just kind of like, all right, keep doing everything you're doing, but you're just not allowed to have this one thing that naturally you need. You know, this medicine. You're denying yourself fucking insulin, basically. And that's a miserable way to live. And then, you know, this time around, it switched from, fuck, I can't do this, to like, what am I capable of now? Now that it's like, 'cause it's like both hands were tied behind my back, and then at the beginning it's like I got one hand free, and I was like, I kind of like this. This is good shit. And then doing the work, going to meetings, doing my steps, all that kind of shit. It's like the other hand came out, and I was like, why didn't anyone fucking tell me I was capable of like having a great life? That wasn't me before. That was this version of me that through years and years of just whipping myself had constructed into this kind of weird diet version of myself that was just not living a very good life, you know? And I was happy. I was convincing myself I was happy, and I was doing cool shit, and I was hanging out with what I thought were cool people. But there was just so much false to it. You know?
I hear you, and that's the difficult part, because we kid ourselves that we're enjoying life and we're having fun. I mean, like the last year, definitely 6 months of was just hellish. It was just
it's not fun, man.
Every time I went
dark.
back, it was
very
like,
dark.
this is getting worse and worse. And like I just, at that point I was like, I can't see any way out. And you know, and they say jails, institutions, and death. And I'd done a bit of jail. I'd done institutions. I'd been in rehab, and then the last one was like, I don't want to do that. So like you, I love that metaphor of like jumping through the window, or the kind of what do you call it, like a wormhole almost. It was like that opportunity,
and it was like, it's like there it is, and it's going to start.
There it is. It's getting closer and closer. So I got medical detox for the last time at the hospital up here, and I was like, you know, once I get this and I start getting clarity, I am going to do everything and anything I can to get sober and stay sober, because I was like, I'm done. Like I was, you know, I'd cut bridges, burnt bridges with loads of people, but my family was the last. Like my mum, my brother, my nephew who I'd only just met, he was 1 year old, my niece, you know, it was like I wanted to have relationships with them, and it was like,
but we were liabilities. It's the same thing.
Yeah, like, exactly.
My sister started distancing herself and she's got 3 kids, and I saw it happening. I saw my brother-in-law being really disappointed in me. It's like, that's one thing that kind of shook me. It's because like my family, it's kind of like built in. Like when you're an alcoholic, it's like, yeah, I know I'm disappointing my family. Of course you know that, you know. But then when it's someone just barely removed, I was like, but I want him to be I want his praise, you know.
Yeah.
And so
You
he
want
was
him
like,
to go, it's all right, Tom, you're fine, you know, like
exactly.
yeah,
And when he was like,
you're pissing them
you're
off,
a
but
fuck
we'll have a
up
beer.
now, I was like, oh no, I'm a fuck up now. And so I was finally able to, when I got sober, oh my God, my sister and I are so fucking close now. And my family calls me for advice all the time. And which is still new to me, you know, like,
because you're dependable, you know. I'm sure you've got patience, which is one thing that I've learned, and I'm so glad for my patience that I've learned in the past 5 years, you know.
I had no patience. I had no patience for anything.
at all. No patience at all. But now I've just got to sit with things, and I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll deal with this, you know, rather than just going and then
when I'm uncomfortable now, and I was telling someone brand new yesterday, I said, learn to be uncomfortable. Because it's very uncomfortable getting sober. And whenever I do, like yesterday, I left to go have coffee with a buddy, and I took a Vyvanse, which is an amphetamine for my ADHD, so I can't have coffee for the rest of the day. It makes me nuts. Got a decaf, and what I thought was a decaf, it was not a decaf. I got back, it was sitting in my living room, just like, holy shit. And like every other time when I'm uncomfortable, I just sit and I say, oh, this is bad, man. I'm very fucked. I compartmentalize it and I laugh at it. And it's like, it's a very normal, it's a normal emotion to just feel anxiety and uncomfortable. And I just sit back, I recognize it and say, oh yeah, this is bad right now.
This is bad, really but this too shall pass, you know.
Exactly. Of course it will. Because
what are you going to do?
There was an escape for my anxiety. I got diagnosed with anxiety disorder when I was 37 years old. I didn't know I had anxiety because I was drunk all day, every day. Because anytime I felt anxiety, I was like, well, I know what to do. What? Yeah. Have a drink. And the anxiety goes away. So when I got diagnosed, my then girlfriend was like, I think you have anxiety. I was like, get the fuck out of here. And then I went to the doctor. She did the test. She's like, textbook anxiety disorder. Yeah. I was like, what do I do? She's like, take this pill. You know, I started taking it. I was like, oh, this is even better. Okay, this is great. Yeah. This will help me get sober. And I drank for another few years, and then I got sober, and then I felt insane. And then I talked to a psychologist. She was like, I think you have ADHD. And I was like, okay. So I did the tests, and she was like, oh, yeah, textbook. And she told me, she said, the rates of people with undiagnosed ADHD who become dependent on alcohol or drugs are like, I think she said like 70 to 80% of people. And of course that happens. You know, you've got undiagnosed issues. We're just going to medicate. Yeah, and they medicated.
Yeah. And the dopamine,
I was my own doctor, and that was a good fucking doctor. You know.
Yeah. Well, I went to the doctor. This was towards the end with depression, and I think this was just before my 40th birthday. So I was with my ex-partner and her kids, and I was like, went to the doctors. Hadn't got sober yet. Went to the doctors, and I'd been drinking that morning. Like, I'd been drinking vodka straight that morning. So I went to the doctors, probably hadn't even brushed my teeth, you know. And I was like, I'm depressed, you know, I've lost my job and this, that, and the other. The doctor didn't even say, like, how much are you drinking? Like, she must have been able to smell it. It's during the day, you know, it's like 11 o'clock. And she's like, here's some citalopram, like 20 mil, go away, take them. And that was it. That was her. You know, that's her duty of care. So I took them, but I was still drinking, and it didn't do.
That's what I went on too. Yeah.
So it was like doing nothing, and then like, long story short, got sober, and then I was like, oh, do you know what? Like, I'm feeling all right here. I think I might come off these, you know, because they were working when I was sober, and I was like, I don't know if I need them, because what the chicken or the egg? Was I depressed because I was drinking, or well, yeah, let's be honest, that's why I was depressed, because I was drinking and I hated my life. So I came and I weaned myself off this citalopram, and then lo and behold, like, I haven't been on them since. And I'm like,
really, that's good to know, because I'm weaning myself off right now.
Good, like, no, I did it. Like, within
I'm
the
going
first 6
down,
months.
and that's amazing. That's so good to hear, because I got that diagnosis when I was hungover. You know, like, I like to say, like, I just spent 20 years drinking off a hangover, because you said that, you know, 4 bottles made you hungover, 3 bottles didn't. 2 drinks made me hungover. Right, and I continued drinking every day, because that's all I woke up and I was like, oh, fuck. Well, I know what to do. Grab some wine and then back to normal, you know? That's...
Well, that was my
I can't think of drinking without a hangover.
Yeah, well, it was, I mean, it's more withdrawal towards the end with me, because, like, I needed it to live, because it was like the pain, the anguish, the everything, and it was like, am I going to go to work today? No. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to go and park my car. I'm going to go get some vodka. And I'm going to sit in my car until I have to go home. And I pretend to my girlfriend at the time that I'm still going to work. Like, but it's only going to be today. It's only going to be today. And then tomorrow we're going to go to work. Yeah, no. And tomorrow the same thing. And then it's like 3 months have gone past, and I'm like, I've been just sat in my car, like not doing anything, like not even writing, like saying, do you know what I mean? Just like. All these aspirations have gone out the window. I'm just sitting in my car. I've poured my vodka into a bottle of water, so it just looks like I'm sitting there being healthy with a bottle of water. Where I'm sitting in my car, smoking Rolly cigarettes and drinking vodka. And then when it's time to go home, I'll go home, and I'll be okay because I've been drinking steadily all day, and I've got, I'm not even drunk. And then I'll get home. My ex she would go for a nap, so I would come in with a bottle of wine and I'd start cooking dinner. So then if she came down, she could smell alcohol in my breath, but it's because I've got a glass of wine,
Oh, that was key for me was always have what looks like a normal drink on you to mask the fact that you've just had like 6. Like I used to touring with a band around like noon or 1 o'clock. I'd say to the rest of the crew on the tour bus, like, I think it's time for beer, guys. They'd be like, yeah, it's a great idea. And them not knowing I've already had 7, you know? Because
I had vodka hidden behind the stem in the bathroom. So I'd be like, I'd always get wine or beer in. And then like, I would just go like, oh yeah, go to the toilet. And then I'd be in there necking it. And
I never had to deal with that problem because I only ever dated alcoholics.
So yeah, you're all right. Well, I did date an alcoholic for a while. I mean, we were both massively alcoholic, and that was how we kind of met. And on and off for about 4 years of just absolute hell and carnage. So
that was the 2 major relationships I've had. I always like to say it's like alcohol brought us together and it ripped us apart. You know. Like,
well, I think looking back, like, did we love each other? Or did we just love the alcohol? We just loved the alcohol.
That was the one thing I realized about my last relationship. This long conversation we had basically when we broke up was like, have we just been friends this entire time? I think we were just drinking buddies because we were friends, and then we started dating, and then at the end it was like, was there even like love or passion here? And it was like, it was what it was.
It was just drunken fueled sex, and then whatever, and then like probably a lot of arguments like us, and it was just we'd move about because either I'd lose a job or she'd lose a job. We'd move back in with her folks, and then we got a pub. This was just absolute madness. You guys got a pub? We got pub. It was basically a hotel, and we basically moved into this thing, and it was just like I was the only member of staff, and so I was just obviously drinking behind the bar. But to make it look good, I was just having like a little half pint of Guinness. But I'd go round the back, and I was drinking all sorts, and I'd be constantly topping up the Guinness. Yeah. We had an open mic night one night, and it just descended into madness. So much so. There was windows smashed. Like I remember looking over at the bar at one point, and there was just people behind there just pouring themselves drinks. Like I'd given up caring. Suffice to say, we didn't stay much longer after that. But our relationship did kind of last for maybe another year. Very rocky, but yeah, man, it's just like. I mean, I'm trying to write a book at the moment, but it's just kind of one of those things where. Life is in the way, but I'm making time. I'm making time. This is my winter project to finish my kind of memoirs and.
Oh man, I've been thinking the same thing. Like I've started it. I've laid it out. Like, have you ever read like Augustan Burrows, or oh God, what's his name? The old memoirish. Fuck, why can't I remember what his name is? He's got a famous sister too. He's a famous writer. Gay old man. Anyways, I like the idea of just doing like kind of memoir short stories.
Yeah. I like it. Well, as I say, I've done a fair chunk of it, but then it kind of that was like in early days recovery. I was like writing feverishly, and then life happened, and I kind of got sidetracked, and obviously there's things. So now I'm like, no, this is going to be my winter project. Tom, what advice would you give to anyone that was kind of, early days recovery, sober curious, wanting to make that change?
I'd say that sobriety is not what you think. Okay. It's like right now is the time to do it. That's a big thing, and just surround yourself with other alcoholics. That was the difference. Like I tried so many fucking times because I thought I could do it myself, and Once I realized that like there were other people who were not lame like I thought they were going to be. Like I like to say, it turns out that rooms full of people who almost partied themselves to death are actually pretty fucking entertaining.
Of course, there are people.
Like anything else in our lives, like when we want to learn how to do something, we learn from other people, right?
Yeah.
Like we learn, growing up skateboarding, I didn't invent these tricks. I saw someone do a trick and was like, tell me how to do that, Yet for some reason, when it comes to our recovery, for a myriad of reasons, we're like, no, I can figure this out myself. And you just don't have to, you don't have to. And so just like for me, it's find where sober people are. And it's just in rooms full of people all over the world that have been doing it for almost a century. It's been getting people sober, right?
Yeah.
And it feels lame at first or whatever, but like I think like anything, we don't know what things are going to be like unless we try them, right?
Unless we try them and give them a
yourself
chance.
A shot, right?
Yeah. Give it a chance for at least, I don't know, like at least a month, I think. I think a month. I was already hooked on the meetings within 4 or 5 meetings, I think. Once I started speaking, once I started sharing, which I think was the second meeting, I was like, I need to get back in there, like at least once a day. And because I would get this buzz from it, I was desperate to see the people. I wanted to hear more from them, hear the story.
You want to get like an attaboy once in a while too.
It's
that positive
little
reinforcement of people being like, you're doing great, man.
But also,
we really need that because we're broken at the beginning.
We're broken, and we love that. But then what I really thrived on was the newcomers coming through, and it was giving them out the white chip or whatever, and then hugs not drugs at the end, and then it was like, and I was like, I hope they come back next week. And then when they did, it was like George that I was talking about, like he was a couple of months after me, and then I was like, I really hope he stays because he's a young guy. We've had some young guys come through and they stay for like a day and then they're like gone. You never hear from them.
Most people.
Most people. But the ones that stay, it was like, because when I started in the groups here, I think there was like maybe 4 of us in this group. It was during COVID, but by the time because I don't go anymore. I know it's there if I need it. But when I started, when I left, there was about 14 of us in that room, which for the Isle of Man standards is pretty big. And it's you're probably like looking at meetings with like 40, 50 people or something, are you?
Some of them have hundreds.
Yeah, exactly. So this is like but like from 4 people, we're like, exactly. Toronto's the big city. We're like, Isle of Man population is 80,000, I think, on the whole island. So tiny. Like that's probably just your little borough.
I live in a city.
In your street.
I live in the 4th biggest city in North America. It goes Mexico City, New York, LA, Toronto. So it's millions. It's one thing people really don't understand. Nobody really knows anything about Canada, but it's it's a major city here for sure.
It's on my list. Not just Toronto, but I want to come to Canada at some point.
Oh man, you got to check it out.
Absolutely.
It's filled with Canadians too. That's what I like about it. It's like
exactly.
Why I don't like the States too much is that there's a lot of weird Americans down in the States right now.
You know what? And this is Tom. This is just between you and I. When I hear an accent like a North American accent, I'll always say to them, "Oh, are you from Canada?" Because 9 times out of 10 they're probably American. But if I do get a Canadian on that one, they're like, "Oh my God, you knew I was Canadian." I'm like, "Yeah, of course I did."
That's really nice, actually. I've done that with Kiwis too, because I made the mistake of saying, "Are you Australian?" They're like, "You fucker." And so I've realized it's a lot nicer. It's a lot better for an Australian to get mistaken for a New Zealander than it is for a New Zealander to get mistaken for an Australian. Same thing, same way with us too.
Same way with you, because there's more Americans than you guys.
Oh yeah, there's 10 times as many. So. Yeah, we're a country of 39 to 41 million or something, and they're a country.
Most of them are in Toronto.
Yeah, 2/3 of the population of Canada live within like a 6-hour drive. Where I am right now, because it's like Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and then like the funny thing is, if I was in a building tall enough, I'd be able to see New York State right now.
Wow.
Like it's like an hour and 20-minute drive down to New York from here.
That's pretty cool. There's a TV program over here called, I think it's Race Across the World, and basically what they do is they get like I think it's like 4 or 5 couples. They're not like
Is
couples.
it Amazing Race?
No, so they're like
Okay.
they can be couples. They're not like married or boyfriend girlfriend. They can be brother sister, mother daughter, mother son, father son, whatever. But they basically they're given X amount of money, no phones, just there's this like cash, passports, and they have to race from point A to point B. And a few years ago, they did it from like way out west in Canada, like one of these little islands out there.
Oh, probably from Victoria or something.
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
Vancouver Islands. Yeah.
One of the Vancouver Islands, and then they had to basically make all their way across to PEI,
Newfoundland or PEI.
Yeah, PEI. So it was like this huge chunk, but they were given X amount of money, but they're not allowed to use. They're not allowed to fly, so they're allowed to like do trains, planes. Yeah, trains.
Yeah,
trains and
that's a
that.
7-day drive.
Yeah,
To do that.
So I think
if
they
you're
have
driving,
like,
you're driving 8 to 10
month.
hours a day. That's a 6 to 7 day drive. Yeah.
I think they've got about 30 days to do it. But it was a great series, and you know, there's all these different people, and you're like, why are they going this way, and what are they doing? And yeah, but yeah. So Tom, what if? So either like a podcast or a quick lit book or a film about recovery would you recommend to the listener?
That's a good question. You know what's really good is Dry by Augustan Burrows. He
Right,
is
yeah.
He's a comedic like memoir writer who it's a really funny story about him working as an advertising guy in his 20s in New York and then going to rehab.
That's the one you were trying to remember, yeah.
Yeah, and then living afterwards. Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's really good. Podcast wise, I don't know. There's a really good one by a friend of mine actually. It's called Recovering Out Loud.
Okay, yeah.
It's my local Toronto guy that's really picking up steam. And movies. That's a good question. What movies have I watched?
You know, at
that
the
helped
beginning,
me get
when you
sober?
mentioned about the wedding, your brother's wedding, have you ever seen 28 Days with Sandra Bullock?
No, I've never seen it.
So that's a great film, and like I love Sandra Bullock, but it's funny, but it's dark in places. And basically, at the beginning, she goes to this wedding, and I think she's one of the bridesmaids or something, but she completely just destroys it. Ends up stealing like the bride's car at the end, and like just wrecks the cake, and then drives the car into someone's house in the street, and then gets arrested. And that's when she has to go to rehab for 28 days. So. It's
That's
a
what it's
great
about.
film.
Yeah.
So it's about
rehab. Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's about 28 days. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a good. I can't. A movie's not coming to thing. I'll plug my series. I guess I've got
Cool.
a series, Practically Sober. It's it's just a series of short videos that geared towards people who are in early recovery, and because oh man, when I first got in, and I was a lunatic, and I was like, what do I do right now? And they're like, giving me the slogans. Oh man, just turn it over. It works if you work it. I was like, you're going to end up in body bags if someone doesn't tell me how to make it through my day. Okay. When I got to 2 years, I was like, I think I'd like to use my skill set to like come up with just kind of practical things to help people really early on. Because I was having a hard time finding that. So it's called Practically Sober. You can find it on TikTok and Instagram. I think it's on YouTube too. So so watch that or don't. I hate self promotion so much. I can't stand it.
I'll put it all in the description of the podcast because I follow you on Instagram. I didn't know you were on TikTok, but I don't really use TikTok that much. I just use
it's the only thing I use TikTok for is putting it out.
I just use it to kind of post my reels and stuff from the podcast. I don't my Instagram's basically my home. I love that. I've just started putting the podcast on YouTube because like I'm doing video now. I wasn't doing video before, but yeah, man, we'll put all that in the show notes. And like, Tom, do you regret getting sober?
No, of course not, man. And I was saying that to someone yesterday. Like, nobody regrets getting sober.
Nobody does. Yeah.
No, because we've got something to compare it to. Like, there's little parts of me like that say, oh, I'm bummed out that I missed that party. But then I'm like, no, I'm really not. I mean, it's done anyways. I didn't go. It's done. No, I absolutely don't regret getting sober. I think it's definitely one of the, if not the best decisions I ever made in my life,
Yeah.
And
I mean, I always say I always say it is the best decision I made in my life because, like, you know, none of what I'm going through now, you know, like getting married to the most amazing women in the universe, like, you know, having been stepfather to 3 amazing kids, having a podcast, you know, having a good Instagram account, having my family and my friends, you know, like having respect for me and trusting me again. All these things, none of that would happen without having sobriety. So
no, man, and it still shocks me how much people can depend on me now. Because if there's the one thing that we weren't when we were fucked up is we weren't dependable. We were not dependable people. We were, and now it's like if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to at least make a valid attempt to make things happen, and not just say, "Oh, fuck it," because I lived by 2 words for the longest time. Fuck it, just fuck it. Yeah. You know, like, oh, you know, you shouldn't drink tonight because you shouldn't drink tonight because you've got this really important thing tomorrow. Fuck it. You know, ruin everything.
I had a little button on, I don't know if it was on my arm or in my head or whatever, but it was a fuck it button, and I just used to push that. And then it was done.
Oh, that's so wonderfully destructive.
Yeah, exactly. But like, this is the thing, man. We have, you know, the blessings of being able to stay sober, and I love it. Is there anything else you want to say to the listeners before we go, man? It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, Tom.
Oh, thanks so much. I'd say if you're just starting out, just go easy on yourself. You know, I think it's really worth remembering, like, that it's treat yourself the way you treat your best friend. You know, that was good advice that was given to me, and just make it to bed sober. Just every day, stack those days, and it just keeps getting easier and easier, and you're gonna be fine. You know,
there's the guy over here who's a friend of the podcast, Gary Mayers. He's sober in sound on Instagram as well, and his slogan is "Get to midnight, go again," and I love that. It's so simple and beautiful. Get to midnight, go again, and that's you know, get your head in the pillow, and we're done.
Yeah, a friend said to me once. He said, you know, the world record for sobriety in a day is still 24 hours. So,
I like that. It's good, man.
Thanks, what else? Man. I think that's it, man. This has been great, Jimmy.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. I say we'll put all your details in the show notes, and I appreciate you and I appreciate your sobriety, Tom. So thanks you for coming on, man.
Likewise. Right. I've listened to a few of the podcasts, and it's great. You know.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
All right, brother.
You take it easy, brother. Take care, man.
Bye, man.
Bye. Thank you, Tom. Great conversation. Really enjoyed that. As I say, just, you know, a couple of guys just living their best life now. You know, that's what we're kind of doing. We got out of it. You know, Tom, like, just having that whole time during COVID, just drinking, just, you know, watching The Office 9 times now. It's good, but, you know, it's a lot of times to be watching it. But there was really nothing else to do in COVID, especially with what he did. You know, he was working, he's you know, filmmaker, so not much work going on with COVID. So, you know, but the thing with Tom is he counts himself lucky that at 40, you know, as with me, we got ourselves sober. And why are people still doing the stupid shit? Like, I understand people are still having a few drinks here and there at, you know, 40 plus, but people that are still going out and getting absolutely wrecked, like, why are you still doing that? You know, I really like what he said about that barrier that, you know, like me and him and other, you know, problem drinker, alcoholics or whatever, people that can't drink again, because if we did, it's gonna fucking kill us. Let's be honest. Do you know what I mean? We don't want to be going down that path. And it's great what Steve-O said, that, you know, we did it so hard that we've kind of, you know, that's it, the line in the sand is drawn. We cannot go back there. So I like that metaphor, you know, because I can't go back there. It'll kill me. And I love living sober now, you know. I don't have any qualms about it. I don't miss drinking. And now I can live a life full of health, clarity, you know, no hangovers, and, you know, just being patient, understanding, a better person I was always supposed to be. So, you know, thank you for kind of bringing that up, Tom. It was such a good conversation. So I really enjoyed that. I'm going to put the all Tom's details in there. The Augustan Burrows book, Dry, which I've actually just downloaded on Audible myself, so I'm going to give that a listen. The Recovering Out Loud podcast that's done in Canada and Toronto. I put the 28 days later. No, it's not. It's 28 Days by Sandra Bullock. I've put that in there, and also Practically Sober on YouTube. So I put a link for all of those in for you. And yeah, we're just waiting on the weather to change here. It's been a bit of a storm, but you know what? I'm actually looking forward to autumn and winter. It's gonna be a good. Get cozy, get in, get your Scandinavian hygge on. HYGGE if you want to look that up. It's just all the kind of lighting your candles, getting the warmth, getting the coziness of winter in. Yeah, they drink in that, but you don't have to. It's just about getting involved with the people closest to you and just hunkering down for the winter. So yeah, let's get that in for autumn. I will be continuing on my sober seasons. So summer one will be ending on the 21st of September, because I believe that's when autumn starts, with the equinox, not the solstice. And so I'll be putting details of that on my Instagram as it's coming up. So it'll be running, sober autumn will be running from 21st of September, October, November, December, and then December's when the winter one starts. So on the winter solstice. So yeah, but until next week, guys. And I hope you kind of saw if you're watching it, you saw the little mishaps with that. But I promise you, next week that won't be happening. So yeah, stay safe, stay supportive, and stay sober. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.